Okay, Cenk, welcome back to Uncensored. I want to get to your response to that, and in particular, the flip-flopping by the likes of Rubio over this question of whether it was a preemptive action because of something that Israel may do or not. But I just want to talk to you, first of all, about the little exchange you and I had on X, because I was a little bit bemused by this. You posted this on Sunday. I criticized Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, 1,000 times. He was oppressing his own people and preventing democracy. But there's one thing you can't take away from him. He died on his own 2 feet instead of kneeling to Israel. That took courage. He didn't bow. And I responded to you saying that I didn't think there was anything courageous about this. He shamefully repressed his people. He sponsored terrorism all over the world. That's not cowardly. That's cowardly, not courageous. I just wonder whether, on reflection, you're happy about the wording of the post you made, because I just couldn't follow the thread. Where was he not bowing to Israel? I mean, the guy was meeting with all his top people, presumably sitting down, ironically, and he got blown to pieces because of his decades of terrorism he waged against Israel. But I didn't see a man showing any great courage either before, during, or after his demise.
Yeah. So I definitely want to address what Matt Schlapp just said in the heart of this issue. But in terms of that issue, Piers, I don't understand why it's so confusing to you. So, yeah, the Ayatollah was a terrible guy. We've said that on the Young Turks a million times. And he repressed his own people. At the same time, as you see cowards all over the Middle East, Europe, and here in America, bowing to Israel. And no matter what they do, they bow. And so this guy knew that he was going to get killed. I mean, look at what happened to Hezbollah. Look at what happened to Hamas. You know, what you got to give Israel credit for is they're excellent in terms of intelligence and military. That's why they should fight their own wars and not drag us into it. But does it take courage to know that you're going to be killed and take on Israel anyway and refuse to bend a knee? Of course it does. Where's the question? Like, you're trying to make it seem like since he has 19 other or 99 other terrible qualities, we have to lie and say that it's not courageous to take on Israel when you know you're going to die. No, of course,
it's a bit like saying, it's a bit, okay, but I would say this, it's a bit like saying, Adolf Hitler was a terrible man, but because part of him may have thought, well, I may end up dead if I pursue this policy of wanting global domination through Holocaust and other means, that somehow that was an act of courage. It wasn't. The guy was a genocidal maniac. I'm struggling to see what is courageous Piers, about this Ayatollah.
Yeah, so Piers, it's so easy to say, this guy is bad, so everything about him is bad. And if anybody says anything good about him, then you're a monster. For example, the old thing about Hitler being a vegetarian. So do we have to hate all vegetarians? Do we have to say that it was a terrible thing that Hitler was a vegetarian? No one should be a vegetarian. No,
I'll say that. No one should be a vegetarian.
Hitler is a disgusting, terrible person. Ayatollah was terrible. By the way, Netanyahu is way worse than the Ayatollah. Are we allowed to say anything positive about Netanyahu? I mean, I think he's strategically brilliant. Oh, no, you can't say something positive about a person who's terrible. Yeah, Netanyahu is one of the worst terrorists in the world, but he is
but that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is what you've not explained to me is where the courage is in this Ayatollah's position. He was a ruthless leader.
Piers, look, I love your brother.
He didn't hide in a bunker. Cenk's point is he didn't hide in a bunker and run away and get scared. He just said, do what you're going to do. I don't think that's very smart. I'll say it that way. I don't think it's very smart, but you could reasonably see how that's braver than hiding in a bunker. Can't you say that? I think so.
Well, hang on. Let me finish.
But why hang on.
Let me articulate what I mean. So I'm struggling to see what is courageous about ruling over a regime that oppresses its own people, murdering thousands of them only recently.
That's not the courageous part.
But hang on. On the foreign stage,
Piers is an understanding that, like, you can be an awful person and still do something that is like either brave or virtuous in one way. It doesn't mean anything. He's just saying, yeah, that thing that him doing that was brave doesn't mean that it's brave to oppress your people. He didn't say that. He said he was an awful person for that.
It wages a systematic, targeted series of, through tentacles like Hamas, Houthis and Hamas, attempts to try and obliterate Israel and everything it stands for. There's nothing courageous.
That is how TDS starts right there. That's how people got trapped into TDS, because Trump is bad. So even when he does good shit, he's still bad. That's how TDS starts. Exactly what Piers is doing right here, to say you can't have any virtue for anything else you do if you're bad on this thing. That's the way that happens. So eventually now it's just, I guess we got Ayatollah derangement syndrome.
It's about that.
But Piers, you see what you're doing, right? You're switching it up. It's like a 3-card Monte. I'm saying he was courageous for taking on Israel when almost all the other world leaders are cowards and kneel before Israel. And you're saying, wait, it's not courageous to oppress your own people. Yeah, because that's a different topic. It's not courageous at all to oppress your own people, especially when you have, over 1 million people in the Iran Revolutionary Guard. They've been a terribly oppressive government. That doesn't mean that final act of opposing Israel was courageous. I mean, look at our cowardly leaders. Trump bows, Biden bows, Kamala Harris bowed, Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, they all bow like cowards. It's a disgusting display. None of us want to see it. So, no, you're not going to get me to back away. This is, you know what this is exactly like.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Hold on, let me finish the thought. Let me just finish the thought real quick, 10 seconds. Just like Bill Maher, when he said the 9/11 guys were obviously terrible terrorists. Obviously, Bill Maher thinks that. But did it take courage to run into the buildings? Of course it did. Of course, they're heinous, terrible people, but Bill Maher was right. Obviously, that's not a cowardly thing to do. I wish they hadn't done it. It's a terrible, disgusting thing to do. But this is kind of obvious. It feels, you know what it is? It's like obvious bad faith. Oh, we caught Cenk saying something that is true. But let's try to use it to smear him and pretend that he meant that the Ayatollah was an angel. That's not remotely true.
I don't think it was true. And if it was Netanyahu who got killed in this war, I'm pretty certain Cenk Uygur would not be lining up to call him courageous because of the way he stood up to the terrorism from Iran.
But he hides behind America. He hides behind everyone else.
Right.
Netanyahu has no courage.
Piers isn't seeing it. The Ayatollah wasn't hiding behind America. He said, no, I'm not gonna just bend over for Israel like every other country around here does. That is a little brave, knowing they have nuclear weapons and their their big brother is America. Like, that is a little bit brave. You've got to give him that. Like, it doesn't make him a good person. It just means that standing up to Israel is brave, and everybody's a pussy for not doing it.
But on the other hand, as I just told you,
you would not call him courageous. That's my point.
As I just told you, no, because Israel's like the safest place on earth. It has Iron Dome, it has nukes, it has the best military in the Middle East and it has all of America backing it, all of Europe backing it. So that's not any courage. Like, oh, I ordered America into the war. That's not courageous. It is strategically smart, though. So, would I make a positive comment about Netanyahu, even though I think he's the biggest terrorist in the world? Of course I would, because he was brilliant strategically. He is today. He uses the Americans as suckers. He's stolen like $300 billion from us, caused us to fight his wars at the tune of $8 trillion. He pushed us into the Iraq war. He just pushed us into the Iran war. So that is brilliant. And I get that he wants to protect Israeli interests. So I give the devil his due, whether it's Netanyahu or the Ayatollah.
All right, I'm going to come back and get your response to.
I got to say, I kind of agree with them on that. Like, it's just, it is brave to stand up to Israel. You should do that. Everyone should do that.
To what Matt Schlapp said on the bigger picture.
Be brave.
But I do want to get the other panelists to comment on this, because I'd be very curious if anybody else genuinely thinks that the Ayatollah Khomeini was a man of courage. Josh Hammer, what's your response to that?